Okay, so here's me and Rocco working on leave it for the first time. So how I start this behavior is I have 2 hands behind my back. I present him with one. They're both full of treats. He's gonna paw and kind of sniff and lick to get to the treats. And as soon as he either turns his head or gives me eye contact, I will mark and treat him with the other hand. So there he kind of looks away, looks at me, mark and treat when he gets treats. And that's just how we're going to start it. We're going to progress it by opening our hand at one point. We're going to add a verbal cue, leave it, and we'll start putting it on the ground and asking him to leave it. We'll ask him to leave different objects, and we'll kind of work through that together. So I'll show you all those options. But he did really, really well. Okay, so I'm on the other side of the gate here, putting a shelf together. It has lots of screws and plastic and little pieces. So instead of popping him in his crate with a Kong, like I've been doing when I have something out that's not quite safe for puppies, I decided to pop him behind the gate this time to see where he was at. Could he settle? Could he relax? This is really great for their impulse control behavior because I'm on the ground. My husband's on the ground with me. I have kids coming out, in and out of the room. So this is just a great way to practice some of that impulse control. Maybe he does want to be with us and hang out and play on the ground with us, but he has to wait. And he does great. I don't hear a peep out of him. He lays down here. He rests. There's other dogs, and he stays calm and completely content with being behind the gate. And I'm super proud of him. So you'll notice that I'm popping in and out with treats here and there. And the gap between the treats is pretty large because they're just being super great. If he was to bark and whine and kind of have a little fit at the gate, I would still be giving treats. I would just be waiting for those moments of quiet and settling and marking the behavior I want to see versus the barking and the clamoring. Barking and whining at gates is expected a lot of times, so it's okay. We're just going to work through them. But right then, he just was perfect, so didn't get to show that off very much. Okay, so here's us adding the cue for the first time. So we've had a few sessions of it, and he's gotten it pretty down packed, so we're going to add the cue. I went ahead and slowed the video down a tiny bit so that I can kind of point out what I'm doing.
Leave it? Yes.
So since he knows the behavior, I have something in my hand. He's pretty quick about looking away or giving me eye contact. So since he's doing that on a really consistent basis, I'm going to start adding the cue. And I really want to add the cue as soon as he moves his head away. So I don't want to jump the gun and put my hand out and ask him to leave it and set him up for failure. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my hand out like I usually am. And then you'll notice right as he pulls his head away,
leave it,
is when I say the word. And then I mark and treat. So that's pairing what he already knows with this new verbal cue. So on this next one, I kind of messed up and I went ahead and left it in because it's important to know that with our timing having to be so specific, we mess up often.
Leave it.
So I said leave it before because I thought he was going to pull his head away. He just made a slight movement. I misread it and I just waited him out. Then when he left it, that's when I went ahead and treated him.
Yes.
And then we kind of jumped back on to normal. Okay, so on this next one, this is a few sessions later. I went ahead and
leave it. Okay.
Asked him to leave it while he was moving towards it, just to kind of feel where we were because he was doing such a good job. And he did so great. He popped out immediately. Is exactly what we wanted to see. So that one he was distracted, but we went ahead and took it as a win. And he's doing really good. And as of now, I'm still making it easy. Sometimes my fist is closed, sometimes it's open. I don't want to start using something like chicken or turkey and throwing it on the floor and asking him to leave. I want to set him up for success, and I don't want to push too hard, too fast. Okay, so here's me and Rocco kind of working on some polite behaviors at gates and at doors. This is our first kind of touching on this subject, so I'm not using any verbal cues like wait or stay. We're just practicing when gates or doors open, you can stay behind them even though people are going through. And let's not go through a gate or a door unless being invited. So I'm kind of just taking some rocks and steps backwards, opening gates, kind of just making some movement. And as long as he stays in that sit, I'm going to go ahead and treat him. So here I go a little bit more. Treat him for staying still. I'm eventually going to get through the gate. I'll treat him over the gate. Things like that. I also can use him getting through as a reward. He doesn't particularly want to go in here, as you'll notice when I do release him and call him through. He's kind of like, okay. But if I'm doing something like going out in the backyard and he's really excited, instead of using the treats as a reward for waiting, I can release him into the backyard as his reward. So I'll have video of that too. But this is just kind of the gate practice right now. So you'll see in a few seconds, I try it again. I do ask him for a sit. It's a little easier for puppies to kind of have that concrete behavior. You will see in a second here when I come back out of the gate that he does pop up. And all I do is close the gate and wait for that sit again. I'm not asking him for anything, so I just close it. Once he sits, I open it back up, and then we get a treat. So I'm just letting him work through what kind of my expectations are, and we'll build off of that as he's throughout his stay. But he did really good. He responds really well to my body language and the cues that he does know. So I think he's gonna do great. And here I am releasing some. So anytime I want him to come through the gate or a door, I will go ahead and release him with his OK cue. Okay, this is a quick video after our training session. He actually opted into just kind of settling on the rug himself, and he laid down. I gave him a non-food chew. It's one of those Nylabone type situations. I think it's called a Benabone. But I gave him something to chew on while I set up his X pen and while I clean up some toys. And he does really, really great job just kind of settling, having something to work on. Okay, so here's another video of us working on settling. This time I've set it up a little different. There's a lot more dogs out, and you'll notice I have 3 non-food chews. I like to give them something that's not super exciting so that no one feels the need to resource guard. But he is an empty topple. We got an antler and a Benabone. And the reason I have 3 out is right here. So he dropped the topple. Rocco decided he wanted it, but Boom grabbed it back. So having this third toy out kind of gives them a second option. It doesn't work for all dogs, but these guys seem okay kind of working on a chew together. So I just like having that option, like, oh, you can't have the topple, grab something else. There's always going to be a loose toy. And they do really, really well just kind of working on that.